Hi all, and welcome to our 30-minute flow of candlelight yin. For this class, you'll need at least a blanket or a nice thick towel, a strap, and if you don't have a strap, then you could use the blanket or towel and a bolster, or you could use some blocks, but the bolster will definitely be a bit comfier. And if you don't have a bolster, and you'd like that comfort, then you could grab a nice thick couch cushion and that'll do just fine. So for this class, I invite you to begin in a child's shape with me. And if child's shape is not comfortable for your body in this moment, then I invite you to choose a different shape of your choice. So as we begin to set up and find our child's shape or shape of choice, you might explore taking the knees as wide as the mat. Maybe your toes touch back behind you. And you could send the hips back toward the heels. They don't have to touch the heels, but maybe send them in that direction. And then option to extend the arms as you release the forehead down toward the earth. Perhaps resting your forehead on the mat. And if this does not feel welcome, you might explore taking a narrower stance with your legs, or perhaps stacking your fists underneath your chin, resting your chin. Another option to keep your gaze up is to simply bring your elbows and forearms to the earth. So we'll be here for a few moments, a few minutes, allowing our bodies to begin settling in. Checking in with how you feel with your breath. And taking a moment to notice if this shape is supportive to you. And if not, can you give yourself permission to alter the shape in any way so that it is supportive? As we move through these yin shapes, a gentle reminder that you reserve the right to change your mind at any time. That could look like exploring a shape and then deciding it's not for you, or perhaps trying another option and deciding you like it better. All of your choices are celebrated in this class. And as we're here in our child's shape or your shape of choice for the next 5 breaths, I welcome you to set an intention for your practice. What is it that your heart needs in this moment? Maybe it's a reminder, perhaps it's a piece of encouragement. Last round of breath here. Perhaps you take a cleansing breath in and out with me, inhaling through the nose and exhale through the mouth. You might choose to stay here in this shape longer, or if you'd like, you could inhale and take the gaze up, look at the hands, and begin shifting the hips forward, finding a tabletop shape. And You could place the knees right underneath the hips, hip distance apart. If this feels stable for you, you could explore that. And we'll have an opportunity to visit our puppy shape tonight. We'll begin to open up the chest, the shoulders, and ease into the lower back a little bit. So when you're ready, you might begin by inhaling and perhaps even finding about half strength in your core. And that's just to stabilize the lower back. And as you exhale, you could start to walk your hands forward and then ease the chest down. Ease the forehead down, maybe even resting the forehead on the mat or not. It doesn't have to reach the mat. You might keep this half strength in your core, preventing the abdomen from swaying down toward the earth, or maybe you choose to release the core slowly, allowing the spine to ease down towards the mat. You choose. And I invite you to explore this shape for the next 6 to 7 rounds of breath. You might notice your shoulders and where you feel the opening, maybe in your chest or perhaps in the upper back, maybe around the shoulder blades. You might even notice if you feel an increasing warmth in your muscles as we're here for a little bit of an extended hold. However, you can release whenever you want. Last breath here. And if you're ready to leave this shape, you might inhale your head up to look at your hands and begin walking your hands back. And option to ease down onto your abdomen. If you have a blanket folded beneath you, you might flatten it out a little bit or perhaps move it to the side. As we ease down to our abdomen, you might rest your hands in front of your forehead and maybe rest your forehead on the earth or on top of your hand. Or perhaps you move to one cheek and allow your arms to be to the left and the right of you, either high or low, maybe next to your hips. You decide. As we just give our shoulders, our chest, our core a little break, I invite you to hang out here with me for the next 10 rounds of breath. And as we're here, you might even bring some attention to your breath. If you are lying here on your abdomen, you could notice how it feels to have the feedback of the floor. As you breathe in, you could feel your abdomen pressing into the floor or the mat. And as you exhale, maybe you feel a softening as the breath releases. Taking your time here. Allowing your body a moment to rest, to simply breathe. And we'll take our last few rounds of breath. Perhaps even exploring adding a little bit of breath to your next inhale. Breathing in just a little bit deeper and seeing how that feels. You could explore allowing your exhale to lengthen. Take our last round of breath. Option to extend, if you're going to roll over to your left, you could extend your left arm and use your right hand to just roll on over, finding your way down onto your back or rolling over in any other way that feels right to you. Taking a moment to arrive. You might even draw your knees in toward the chest, perhaps wrapping your hands around your knees or even behind the knees if this is a bit more accessible or preferable. An option to stay here at center or option to rock from side to side. You choose the pace. Two more breaths here. And if you are rocking, you might begin to slowly ease back into stillness when you're ready, when you feel complete. And observing for just a breath or two this sensation of holding yourself with the knees curled in toward the chest and your arms wrapped around your legs. Taking your time. And you can stay here until you're ready to leave this shape. And when you are ready, you will need your strap or your towel close by. I have a strap here, so that's what I'll be using, a yoga strap. And from this shape of the knees being pulled in toward the chest, two options here. You could either, as we extend both legs up towards the ceiling, you might do both at the same time, or you might choose one and then switch and do the other. So it just depends on how you feel in your body. I'm going to go ahead and start with my right foot. That feels welcome to me tonight. And we'll begin to work with our breath. So before we start, can you connect with your inhales and your exhales? And for the first few breaths in this shape, you have the option to take a dynamic approach. And that could look like inhaling your foot or feet up towards the sky, holding the towel or the strap with both hands. Maybe exhaling it right back down, easing into your hamstring. Or if you prefer to go straight into the hold and just allowing your leg or both legs to extend up towards the ceiling with your towel or strap, or maybe just extending them up by themselves, that's also an option. You might even explore taking a few dynamic movements. And then once you feel a bit more warmed up, a bit more open, you might even go for a static hold. However, you could spend this entire shape in dynamic movement if you choose to. There is no right or wrong. So wherever you're at, whether it be dynamic movement or in a static hold, I welcome you to explore this shape for the next 5 breaths. And then if you need to switch sides, there'll be an opportunity to do that after 5 breaths. Three more breaths. Last one. And if you would like to, you could draw your leg or legs back in towards center, maybe pulling both knees in toward the chest for just a moment. You might even observe any differences between the right and the left leg, or simply any difference in your legs now compared to previously, before we entered into that shape. And if you did the right leg the first time, and you'd like to switch over to the left, you could take your strap or your towel around your left foot and holding it in both hands, you could begin to take some dynamic movement, perhaps connecting with your breath here. Or at any time you could go for a static hold. You choose. I invite you to be here for the next 5 breaths. How does this side feel compared to the previous side? Three more breaths. Last one. And when you're ready to release this shape, you might lower your leg. You might remove the towel or the strap to the side. And option to return back to knees in toward the chest. Or you might decide to extend your legs out, maybe taking a few ankle rolls, or maybe stretching the legs out. We're taking a full body stretch. You decide any intuitive movement here that feels welcome to you is fair game. We'll take any shape of your choice here for the next 2 to 3 breaths. And when you feel complete, I welcome you to have a block or a bolster nearby. And there will be an opportunity for a supported bridge shape. And if coming into this bridge shape maybe doesn't feel welcome or doesn't feel comfortable or feels a little bit vulnerable, you might explore taking a towel or a blanket and draping it over your knees. So it could look like this if you want to explore this version. And since you can't see my legs, I'll describe it. Your feet could be hip distance apart and roughly underneath the knees. I like to have my feet a little bit further away from the knees, just a smidge. It seems to feel best on my knees, but you decide what that looks like for you. And with a block or a blanket, block or a bolster or a couch cushion, whatever you have on hand, you could press your feet into the floor and slide whatever your prop is underneath your hips. If you have a blanket over your legs, you might adjust it as needed. And it's best for your neck, just to prevent any injury, to prevent yourself from turning your head from left or right here. Wherever your gaze naturally lands on the ceiling is a good idea to just allow it to rest there, or perhaps even closing your eyes and just allowing your nose to point toward the sky. You are welcome to stay in this shape for the next 8 or so breaths, rounds of breaths. However, you can leave at any time that you see fit, or stay longer. If you have the block underneath you, just an alignment cue would be to avoid the tailbone and place the block underneath your lumbar spine. And you have 3 height options on the block. So if one is too tall or too short, you can always adjust. Another 3 or 4 rounds of breath here. Last one. When you feel complete and ready to leave this supported bridge shape, you could press your feet into the floor beneath you, lifting the hips and sliding your prop out from underneath you. moving your cushion or your bolster to one side. And pausing for just a moment to give our spine an opportunity to rebound. Perhaps even observing how you feel in this moment after exploring the supported bridge shape. And when you are ready to take our last shape before our supported resting time, you could extend your legs out, resting them on the floor. And I welcome you to take a twist. And if you are pregnant, then you might forego the twist and take a constructive rest shape, which would be here with the feet resting on the floor, maybe even allowing the knees to come in toward one another, or perhaps just lying on your side if that feels more comfortable. But if you are not pregnant and you would like to join me for this twist, option to draw your right knee in toward your chest, hugging it in and taking an inhale here. And with your exhale, you could allow the right knee to head on over to the left. I like to untuck my left shoulder here just to give myself a little bit of space. Option to place your right hand on your right ribs, maybe your left hand on your left knee, or you could take the path of least resistance and just simply allow your arms to rest out to either side in whatever way feels natural to you. Option to stay in this shape for the next 5 rounds of breath. Three more breaths. Last one. If you are ready to release from this twist, you could draw the right knee back into center. And then it might feel welcome to pull the left knee in as well, just to recenter your spine, maybe even rocking from side to side for just a moment. And then keeping the left knee pulled in toward the chest. If you're ready to switch sides, you could extend the right leg. And we'll breathe in here together. And with your exhale, if you're ready for the twist, you could send your left knee over toward the right. Maybe even untucking the right shoulder a little bit to create a little bit more space. Choosing where you'd like to place your hands. There's no right or wrong. You choose what is best for your body in this moment. As we sink into this twist for 5 breaths. Perhaps even bringing to mind the intention that you created for yourself at the beginning of class. Last breath. And in your own timing, you could release from the twist, coming back to center when you see fit. Perhaps drawing both knees back in. And here we'll begin to shift into our time of rest. And you could take a supported Savasana, supported resting shape, maybe extending the legs up the wall, or you could lie on your abdomen or on your side. You could choose to sit up for your rest shape, or you could stay right here, resting on your back if that feels welcome to you. And if you are resting on your back and it feels like your lower back has a little bit of tension, you might decide to keep your knees bent, planting your feet on the floor. As you find the shape that feels supportive to you, I invite you to take a breath in with me when you're ready. As we inhale together, inside out. We'll be here for the next 3 minutes or so, and I'll keep time so that you can just be here. And I'll let you know when the rest time is complete. You could choose to stay in this rest shape longer until you feel complete and satisfied. Or if you are ready to move out of this resting time, I invite you to begin adding some movement back into your body. Maybe even taking a full body stretch. And then in your own timing, you could find your way over to rest in the fetal position on one side. Taking one breath here. And then when you decide to, you could press yourself up. And I'll meet you in any seated shape. And option to place your hands at heart center, or maybe even placing one hand over your abdomen and one over your heart. I invite you to take one collective breath with me as we exhale together. Breathe in. Thank you for joining me in this nice and slow yin class. I hope that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you.